What's up, guys? So I was doing an account takeover, and we have a Fire Knight Stage 10 hard team that I ran 10 times, 100% success, and then a few other times as I was tweaking stuff. None of them have failed, so I feel like this is comfortable to share with you all. Now, I imagine there's going to be some fails eventually. If Thor misses his decreased speed and Newt misses some turn meter decreases and they just die from one of the hits, there's probably going to be some fails. But in general, this team has got two massive positives for it. One, it's going to be very consistent. But two, we're not running slow speeds. Now, for some players, slow speeds is a massive plus. But for other players, you don't want your Newt, for example, or your Thor to be that slow, because these two champions specifically are massive for other areas of the game. Actually, Patrick and Mikage are also huge for other areas of the game as well. You don't want them going slow. So in this team, Patrick and Mikage are both fast builds. Thor and Newt are above 250 but below 280. So they're both also pretty fast builds, which means Chimera, no problem. Hydra, no problem. All these builds are just going to copy over into those other areas, saving you some silver, some resources, swapping back and forth the builds. Really, I don't like swapping my builds. And my Fire Knight team has my Newt running at like 230, 240-ish, which for Chimera, I would rather him running like 280. So I'm going to show you guys this run real quick, and then we'll jump into the breakdown of the gear. But if you have these champions, you got an awesome potential team. All these champions were accessible, except for Martyr, for free. We have two fusions, a guaranteed type champion, I believe a Deck of Fate with Padraig, and then Mikage. Of course, that does nothing for you knowing that if you don't already have these champions. If you notice, for all you keen viewers, keen-eyed viewers out there, the Newt just got an extra turn. That's from his Relentless set, which is awesome. So having a Relentless set on Newt, possibly even a 9-piece Merciless, not in this case, but for your case, if you could fit it, that'd be amazing, especially for Chimera. He puts up some really good numbers for Chimera. Having a Relentless is going to be even better, and being able to have that work on Fire Knight is all the better. So we have him going. He should be going before Martyr, so that if he procs a counterattack or an extra turn before, we want to make sure we don't run out our counterattack. So I need to make sure he's faster than Martyr. He should be, but I need to double check that. It hasn't messed anything up so far, but that could change up this timing and the speeds overall. That's going to be like the biggest thing. If he's not in Relentless, it's not really going to matter. So he's actually not faster than the Martyr. I may need to slow her speeds down a little bit. Being at 269, I want Newt to take his turn and then Martyr be the last to go, so everybody gets a guaranteed counterattack. So with that said, let's actually jump in here, and the Newt is already built up pretty well. This is the build that he had, and he may be speed tuned for other areas of the game. So I don't want to adjust this too much necessarily, but what I can do is, since Newt is at 231 speed, and Fire Knight specifically, he is running at 247 with the extra 25% speed aura from Padraig. Newt is running at like, well, 240, 50, 60, 260, 270-ish. But for the sake of this, we just need Martyr running below 247. Her base speed's lower than Newt's, so it's not going to be an issue. Now, I have this sweet banner. We're just going to switch this off. Honestly, this banner is a little bit too special for a Martyr for this content anyways. So we're going to switch this over. This is 234, bada bing, bada boom. Shouldn't be any issue now with speed. But this is going to make it even safer, basically. 247, 250. Apparently, I can't do math. Let's subtract the speed just a little bit more. And then we'll go over all the specific gearing, what you need to look for, and what's going to make this the most consistent it possibly can be for you in your runs. Now, this has speed. This only loses 1 speed. We need something with actually no speed. This, okay, also has some speed. This is an accuracy stone skin banner with no speed. In other words, a garbage banner, but in this case, we can make it make sense. We have a little bit of accuracy that we could have improved. Not a huge deal, but now Martyr is really just here for that counterattack. Everything else is just extra. I mean, that A1 placing the decreased defense is great if it lands, but if it doesn't, not a huge deal. I'm not necessarily relying on it. Now, you will notice that in the team order, we have Newt in the very back. This allows for the ally attacks from Padraig and Mikage to bring Newt in very last. Also, the counterattack from Martyr is going to have Newt going in for his attack at the very end. So the maximum number of Fire Knight shield stacks are going to be down as possible. So Newt has the highest chance to get his A1 to decrease the turn meter every single time. which means you want to make sure you have accuracy on him. Accuracy on Newt's super important. You could go Phantom Touch on yours or Soul Reap. Honestly, if you could fit Soul Reap on like a Padrig or possibly Newt, but fitting Soul Reap in here will most likely speed the run up a little bit. Now, 6-star Soul Reap, I would not recommend because 6-star, maybe even 5-star, but if it does more than 10% max HP, I don't know why Newt just did that. Oh, actually, I do know why, because of the Relentless proc. I don't have to see that to know that's why he just now did that. The Relentless procs can cause him to sink in his A3 ability at an unfortunate time. There's no reason for him to do that whatsoever, but it is what it is. You can't tell the AI to not use the A3 ability during this one specific time of the match. It's not really a big deal. He typically gets 1, maybe 2 uses of the A3 ability anyways. It may lend itself to a slightly longer run, but it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, what I was talking about with the ally attack and counterattacks, we want to make sure Newt gets through, breaks the shield, gets his turn meter decrease from that A1 skill as much as possible. But with Soul Reap, if it's above that 10% max HP, which I believe is, there's like a 14% threshold and a 20% threshold, basically you're going to have the Soul Reap come out, and then you're going to have either 4% or 10% HP left over, which is not ideal. If it's the 6 or 8, I think 8 is the highest percentage of Soul Reap that's effective. 8% can just kill the boss. That's fantastic. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about in just a moment. But here, I mean, Newt's popping Relentless procs like crazy, which means there's a good variance in the runs. You could have a run that goes 2.5 minutes or a run that goes 1 minute and 45 seconds like we already had earlier, which is pretty cool. I mean, if Newt gets extra turns into a A3 ability, well, it's over. Well, now it's over no matter what because we have Padrig going in for the ally attack. But basically, when you get to the boss, we have these presets set up. Padrig is going to, for round 1, not use his A2 or A3. Round 2, same thing. Round 3 is we open with the A1 because we're faster than the boss. We don't want to waste our useful abilities, so we open with the A1. And then we use the A3, which is a turn meter boost, plus it removes all debuffs from all allies and increased speed. This is going to mitigate those effects from that decreased speed. Having him go so fast means that once the Fire Knight does his slam, Padrig's going to be right back around doing his stuff as soon as possible. More speed's fine, and a little bit less speed is probably okay as well. Just know if you go too much less, the Fire Knight's going to get a little bit more turn meter fill before Padrig gets his turn. So something to be mindful of. Try to shoot for some pretty high speed on your Padrig. For Lady Mikage, you could have her going into this second form. Just make sure, because right now, she's not using anything on the waves. It's important. So you could switch her over, have her doing this done, have her play some weekend if you wanted a little bit faster clear times on the waves. Just make sure with however you time this out that she is going to be in her first form and opening with this A1 ability by the time she gets to the Fire Knight. And the thing I've noticed that's weird is if you have her switching forms on the Fire Knight, if you wanted to have her in Relentless, it's going to be difficult on this boss. But if you had her in Relentless here, it's going to be especially difficult. It's just not going to work out very well. So I'd honestly recommend having her like Stone Skin Protection, 9-piece protection if you want it. That's a pretty useful build in many areas of the game. But Relentless is just not going to work with her at this speed because you're going to risk wasting your A3 ability when it's not an appropriate time. So either have her never switch forms or make for certain that she's going to be in this form when it first gets to the boss. So like there's no switching on the boss stage, because if you switch on the boss stage, you can't use an opener skill. You'd have to change the A2 ability to be your number 1 priority, basically. So if you understand what that means, follow that instructions. If you don't understand what that means, well, just test it out and you'll find out what happens if you have her opening with this and then attempting to open with this. It just doesn't work, guys. Too many opening effects. So then we have Thor. Thor's at 272 speed. We need accuracy on him, over 330. We need some attack and crit damage as well. We want him to hit hard. We want to use him in Hydra also. We have him opening with his A3 ability on the first wave. Second wave, using the A2, wrecks everybody. And then on the Fire Knight, we open with the A1, get those double hits into the shield, and then we go to the A3, which is going to be the decreased speed. Everything's fully booked, of course. Decreased speed is massive, so make sure he has good accuracy. And then just uses A2. Honestly, debated on turning this A2 off because I've seen this A1 hit for a lot of damage. And then we have Martyr. Martyr, we have her not using this A2 anytime except for on the boss. And then on the first wave and second wave, we could actually either have this on the first wave or on the second wave. Doesn't really matter which one. But if there's a wave you struggle with more than the other, just turn this off for the other wave. So say you struggle in wave 1, prioritize it here. But if you struggle in wave 2, well, just turn it off here and prioritize it there. Got to make sure this counterattack's not being used. It's just going to make the run slower. No need to do that. So we'll actually just have her prioritize this here just because the Riho in the second wave actually reflects but or cleanses the buffs anyways. So we just place the provoke first. Let's just get the weaken through from Newt. It's all good to go. Now with Newt, we have round 1, he can use this A2. I don't really care. Round 2, same thing. I don't really care. The biggest thing is just he does not use the A3. And then for the boss fight, we open with that A1, and then we prioritize the A3. You'll see the actual Fire Knight stats over here. Whenever I get in to show the gear sets, you won't see these stats the same way because we do have area bonuses. So pay attention to these stats. Patrick, 332. Mikage, 293. Thor, 272. 244 for Martyr, and then 247 for Newt. Martyr being your slowest, Patrick being your fastest. Fill in the gap above 250, below 350. You could probably even go faster than 350, honestly, but basically just sandwich between those two numbers, and you really should be pretty good. Now, as far as the actual sets and the masteries for each of these champions, Mikage is in Stone Skin plus some, 4-piece Stone Skin plus some protection. 9-piece protection would be awesome for boosted damage here, Hydra and Chimera. Relics, we don't care about those just yet. Blessings, Polymorph has no use here. You could switch it up if you want it, doesn't really matter, but she's just a PvP build, obviously. For Thor, we have him Helm Smasher for some Hydra content. We have everything fully booked. He has Heaven Cast as well. Though Nature's Wrath would probably be better, actually definitely would be better for him in Hydra. So I'll recommend this player to swap that over. But right now, it's not going to make much of a difference here. Actually, it will make a little bit of a difference because he does land at decreased speed that first wave. We have 5 of them landing. That's going to be an extra 25% damage, basically. Yeah, so let's go ahead and switch that over. Why not? And then his actual gear sets is Merciless. I was able to fit him into a 6-piece Merciless set. Let's get a little more attack percentage. Why not? He's not even fully glyphed, so he does have some room to grow. But this build's fantastic for Hydra as well as for Fire Knight. And then Padraig, we have him in Protection plus Speed. Nothing special there. We have the 25% Speed in Dungeons aura. Cruelty Blessing really doesn't need it. Honestly, I'd recommend switching this to Phantom Touch, honestly. Phantom Touch would just be better, or going for Soul Reap. What I was talking about with Soul Reap is the 1-star and 3-star is both beneficial. However, the 5-star and 6-star have a 4% and a 10% gap, essentially, from the Reaper's Slash. So keep in mind that that could make your run a little bit slower. But for him, I think I would actually go with Soul Reap, honestly. But that's only really effective in Fire Knight. Cruelty is going to be better for Hydra. Granted, Padraig's not really a great champion for Cruelty anyways. So then you're looking at Phantom Touch or Soul Reap. Honestly, Soul Reap would probably just speed this up. Let's switch this over, try one more run to see how it actually goes. But here's his masteries. The breakdown's right there. And then we have Newt with Giant Slayer. We have these skills fully booked. Phantom Touch as the blessing. Once again, Phantom Touch, Soul Reap, either one's fine. Typically better if you have a champion like Padraig who gets more attacks. It's nice to have them in Soul Reap versus have him in Phantom Touch and then Newt and Soul Reap. Newt has more Phantom Touch chances, essentially. So we have this set up for Newt. We already showed the stats and everything. Don't need to talk about that anymore. And then Martyr is in a bolster set. If you don't have bolster, just go shield set. Pump her HP, pump her defense, make her tanky so that everyone else on the team survives very well also. If you don't have a 5-star soul on Thor, you may have to push more into his HP and defense for him to actually survive that first hit. Faultless Defense is extremely important for Martyr. This basically allows her increased defense buff that she places from the A2 ability to reflect 5 hits essentially back to the Fire Knight. So the Fire Knight has 5 less hits for his shield. So let's show this one more time. We have Padraig with Soul Reap now, which really should speed the run up. So let's see how this plays out. Now, this first wave could be, if you pushed your Thor to some better damage, or if you made Newt faster than Thor, you would be able to clear this much faster. You could get this to a minute and a half consistently without too much of an issue, honestly. I could also turn off Thor's A2 for that first wave. Doesn't really need to use it. Now we have no AoE being used, so the wave clear here is pretty slow, honestly. We could, without a doubt, boost this wave clearing speed. Right now, it's just not super efficient. I'd love for him to use that AoE skill. Boom. Yeah, we could get through the waves in less than 30 seconds. Not a problem. Boost Thor's damage overall. and it's going to improve that for sure. But he does have some stacks of Nature's Wrath now, which is going to be better for him than Heaven Cast, because Heaven Cast is 1.5% damage boost per buff on the champion. And I mean, that's like a 4.5% damage boost. Well, Nature's Wrath has already pushed us well above that. Nature's Wrath is what, 5% per debuff you've placed? Yeah. So Newt did his turn. Patrick does his cleanse. Then Mikage is going in with her ally attack. We hit the boss, and the shield is broken. Newt gets all of his turn meter decrease sunk into that, and Thor is right there to place the decreased speed as soon as we break that shield, basically. You want to make sure you're breaking the shield and then placing that decreased speed, because if you're attempting the decreased speed with the shield not broken, well, the run's just not going to work. Which, if that's the case, then your speeds are all messed up or something's going on. You got some bigger issues. I really want to see Patrick actually get Soul Reap to proc. Like I said, Soul Reap's great. It definitely has a chance to speed up some runs when the RNG hits correctly. So Newt does not use no A3 ability, unfortunately. We still got that on cooldown. And it may not even matter, honestly, because Newt may just kill the boss right here. Okay, not quite. We're pushing into Soul Reap territory, getting closer and closer. We got the AoE, or the ally attack from... I actually get a Soul Reap here. Nope, we did not. But the timer should stop. Okay, we got Soul Reap there. It was weird. It's like the Reaper went out first to take care of everything. 216, not a bad time whatsoever. So that's the Fire Knight Stage 10 hard team that honestly has some relatively accessible builds, I believe. So guys, best of luck if you want to go for this build. Awesome team setup, I think. Should be super consistent for you all, and also pretty fast. I know a lot of players have a hard time getting Fire Knight to be pretty fast. So there we go, guys. Also, if you want to account takeover for yourself, click the link down below. Get signed up. Hope you guys have a great Fire Knight pushing session. Good luck building the team, and I'll catch you all in the next one.